my life. I give you my soul. I live for you alone. Every breath that I take, every moment I'm awake. Have your way in me. Have your way in me. Have your way in me. What a beautiful prayer to make. I want that to be your prayer as we start our time together this morning. Have your way in me. This is Aloha Sunday, and on every Aloha Sunday we always speak to a beautiful Hawaiian proverb. These proverbs were collected by Mary Kavenapukui. And the one we're looking at today is this one. Nana maka, hana lima. Nana is a Hawaiian word meaning to look at or to see, to observe. Nana maka, eyes, with the eyes. Hana means to work or to do. You know the phrase, pau hana, finish work. Lima is hands. So it's like look with the eyes and do with the hands. And she says it this way, observe with the eyes and work with the hands. The phrase is really meant to say to people, just looking is not enough. It's okay to see the problems in the world. It's okay to see the stuff in our own life that we want to fix. But we need to do something about it. Action. We need to take action. I'm really excited about this time together today because today you are going to find out how to become a saint. Yeah? Isn't that great? Let me tell you, it's going to be your ultimate destiny and goal, so we might as well just begin to commit to the journey. It's a difficult process. We all have this thing where we're seeing what we need to see in the world. We see what our life, but the distance from here to here, the distance to make it change is sometimes a struggle. We know what to do, but we just don't quite do it. This is from the Adi Granth. The Adi Granth is the great scripture in the Sikh religion. And it says, realization of truth is higher than all else. Higher still is truthful living. So yes, it's great to know the truth, but it's even better to actually live the truth. The great apostle Paul talked about this seeing and this knowing. Not only you see with the eyes that are in our head, but we want to see with the eyes of our heart. That's why we sang that song, Open the Eyes of My Heart. Paul said it this way in his letter to the Ephesians, I pray that the eyes of your heart may be enlightened in order that you may know the hope to which he has called you. Remember, that hope, that destiny is for us to become saints. And today we're going to talk about how to do that. You're going to leave today knowing that's who you are, it's what your destiny is, and it's how to be it. It's difficult because the things that we're so used to seeing in this world with our eyes are the outside things, and we don't always see the inside things. This is from Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. He's the man who wrote that wonderful little book, The Little Prince, back in 1943, an amazing piece of metaphysical literature. He said, it's only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. The really important things about our life are the things that we can't see with these eyes. We have to see with these eyes. Now, do you know that problem? Do you understand what I'm saying? When we sometimes know what to do, we don't do it? I can't be the only one. In fact, I know I'm not the only one. The great Apostle Paul, again, there was the first time, I think this is the first passage of his that I read in the book of Romans, that when I read it, I said, now I know exactly what he's talking about. That's me. Sometimes when you read Scripture, it's hard to find yourself in there. Well, let me invite you to see if you can relate to any of these words from the Apostle Paul. What I don't understand about myself is that I decide one way, but then I act another. Doing things I absolutely despise. I obviously need help. I realize that I don't have what it takes. I can will it, but I can't do it. I decide to do good, but I don't really do it. I decide not to do bad, but then I do it. My decisions, such as they are, don't result in actions. Something has gone wrong deep within me, and it gets the better of me every time. It happens so regularly that it's predictable. Parts of me covertly rebel, and just when I least expect it, they take charge. I've tried everything, and nothing helps. I'm at the end of my rope. Is there no one who can do anything for me? Isn't that the real question? Whoa. Can you relate? I hope so, because otherwise you might as well just go home. But I think we can relate. All of us can relate to this, like, oh, I need help. I know what to do, but I can't quite always do it. I don't see what that problem is. See, there's a gap between seeing with the eyes of our heart, the maka. There's a gap between seeing it and the space between the action. The thing that I see that I want to do, I don't do. Today, I want to explain that gap for you. I want to explain how it unfolds in our life, the steps that our mind is going through, and I want to give you some affirmations, some truths to hold to yourself, that if you follow these, you will step into sainthood for yourself. Let's understand that life really, fundamentally, is our perception. Each one of us is seeing life differently. Each one of us has a different perspective. Each one of us will have different experiences. We get it through our 5, 6, 7, or 8 senses, however many you think you have, at least 5, most folks. But we're experiencing life that way. It comes into us, and it comes in through a lens that we're looking at. There's a filter that we have, a whole bunch of filters of our childhood, of our experience, of our ethnic background, of our social construct. We have all kinds of stuff. What I'm suggesting to you is that as we experience life, we try very hard to remove those filters and have only one filter, and that is the filter of that presence of God that is in us, that we see and experience life through that lens. So here's an affirmation for you. I see from the heart of God within me. I see from the heart of God within me. So when we look at stuff, we don't look at it as ourselves. We look at it from that heart of God space within us. Do you understand? Let's say this together. I see from the heart of God within me. This is your first step into sainthood, okay? You're perceiving the world, but you're not perceiving it so much as yourself with all our stuff, but from the heart of God. Now that perception leads to an interpretation of the perception. And this is a really important point for us all to get. Everything that has ever happened to us, every event that we ever experience, every encounter we have in life has meaning only because we gave it the meaning. You understand? This is really tough. Most people think that everything has meaning all on its own. It only has meaning because we gave it the meaning. That's our interpretation. I can show you a glass that's half empty and half full. Some of you will look at that glass and go, it's half empty. Some of you will look at it and go, wow, look at all that water. That's a half full glass of water. There's a perception and an interpretation. Life really, our happiness depends upon that interpretation. This is why we keep telling everyone our happiness depends here, because this is where the interpretation of everything happens. No matter what happens to us, we are the ones that give it meaning. And that meaning is whether we decide whether it ultimately ends up making us happy or not. So here's an affirmation from you. I understand. I give meaning from the mind of God within me. So it's not my mind. I'm not giving it from my stuff. I am giving it from the God. See, we teach here in Unity that divine presence of God and all these things are in you all the time. So we need to live from those. That's how you become a saint, from living from that Godness. So let's say this out loud together. I understand from the mind of God within me. So when we see something, now sometimes we'll see something where we just say, I can't see any good happening in there. Course in Miracles has a wonderful phrase that can shift us. It says, simply, there is another way to look at this. Now, there's another way to look at this. And I like it when Paul said, I need help. I can't understand. I need help. Because sometimes looking at things and trying to see them from a God perspective is difficult. Because we're trapped in our own stuff and we can't see it. This is when we ask for help. Yeah? If the presence is here, we need to stay in touch with it. We need to be in communication. That's what saints do. After interpretation, we take a bunch of our interpretations of things together and we collect them up, and then we develop beliefs. This is what I believe. This is real easy to see in our American political system. If you don't, how does this work? That's how it works. You get locked into one particular camp or a party, so no matter what happens, you have an interpretation of it, and that interpretation feeds into a collection of things, which is a belief, which is if you're Democrats, all Republicans are bad, or if you're Republican, all Democrats are bad, and no matter what he does, it's no good, or no matter what they do, it's no good, because we develop these beliefs. We get trapped into them. Not only that, we love it when we get other people to agree with us. So I can say, oh, don't you think that so-and-so is just terrible? And you'll say, yeah, so see, I know I'm right, because he said so too. Now, there's two of us. We're going to form a political action committee, just you and me, and we'll start there. So you understand how that all these interpretations were based on perceptions, and those things are putting all together now to create our beliefs. I want you to understand how deeply human all of this activity is. If we can live in the divinity of these moments, then what we're going to end up is with some really wonderful beliefs. My beliefs are rooted in the wisdom of God within me. Okay? My beliefs are rooted in the wisdom of God within me. I invite you to say that with me together. My beliefs are rooted in the wisdom of God within me. Now, do you notice in each one of these things, I want you to get it. This is one of the hallmarks of the unity spiritual path. The divine presence of God is in you. Everything you need to know is in you. So in each one of these affirmations, we are asking you to turn within yourself and to seek that conviction of spirit in you. All right, all of these beliefs ultimately will create in us the potential of our feelings. And our feelings are really important because they are the engine that moves us forward. We don't really start doing things until we feel it. How many people have I met or counseled, people who were in abusive relationships, and they just couldn't get out? But they knew they had to get out. This is not good. I need to get out of this. But they couldn't get out until, you know what happened? They got mad. When they finally got mad enough, they had the power to get out. Our feelings are the engines that move us forward. Our feelings are where the passions of things that we want to do. A lot of people have concern for the homeless, but unless you have a passion for it, unless you have feelings about it that are strong enough to move you forward, nothing's going to happen. This is where that process of looking from the eyes and moving to the hands happens. So our feelings are the result of the beliefs, which are the result of the interpretation, which are the result of the perceptions. See, the good thing about this is, and I tell this to people all the time, and they don't like it. They say, well, I can't help it. That's just the way I feel. I say, no, you can. What do you mean? You think I can change my feelings? Uh-huh. Thank you. You can. Because you see, the way to change the feelings is to come back here and change beliefs. The way we change beliefs is to change our interpretation of things. And the way we change that interpretation is to go back and see things again, perceive them differently. We have to go back to the beginning. If we don't go all the way back, we're not really going to be able to change the feelings. So I want you to affirm that all my feelings rise from God's love within me. Everything is going to come from there. Do you want to be a saint? This is what we say together. All my feelings arise from God's love within me. Okay, great. So we have all these feelings. We have these ideas, these beliefs, perceptions. And you know what happens? They result in actions. They result in the hana, lima, the hands doing something. That's how that happens. Those feelings begin to express. It's the natural expression. So I want you to affirm that every action I take is an expression of God within me. What a beautiful saintly thing to say. Every action I take is an expression of God within me. Together, every action I take is an expression of God within me. Isn't that beautiful? So now look at this whole thing together. You started with some experience. You gave it some meaning. You collected a bunch of those experiences together. You had a belief. Out of that belief, you developed some feelings about it, some convictions, some strong passions and concern. Those resulted in actions. Those actions gave results. And you know what those results will do? They will give you more perceptions. They will begin to create the world. It's a whole beautiful cycle. That's why we say, when you give more, more comes back to you, because it's a cycle. As we begin to express more love into the world, more love is going to come back. So once we commit to this cycle, to living this cycle from that lens of sainthood, from that lens of a sense of holiness, really, which is a commitment to live from the God place within it. Once we do that, that begins to be the world we create. And then the world we create begins to be the world we experience. And the more we experience that world, the more we recreate that world. You see? That is what saints do. It's very simple. All of my life is an expression of God. It's true. Will you claim it with me again one more time? All my life is an expression of God. So there's the picture. Perception, interpretation, beliefs, feelings, actions, results. We're back again to perception, interpretation, beliefs, feelings, actions, results. If we can understand how this cycle works in our life, if we can understand the choices that we are making each time, whether to live from that God place or to live from some other place, choice is always ours, we'll see how we can step into a life that leads us to sainthood. Will you close your eyes with me for a moment, please? I invite you to take a deep breath and to understand that in all these many words, there's really only one place to go, and that is within. The great teaching that we often talk about is to remember to read a little bit, to meditate more, and think about God all the time. If that is where your mind is, then you will be creating a saintly world. In these quiet moments, I'm going to invite you to make that connection right now, as each one of us comes to God in the sacred and holy silence.